Welcome to the BNI Knox podcast, helping members in the Knoxville, Tennessee region grow their business and make more money through the power of referrals. Now, here's your host, Andy Brassfield and Curtis Johnston.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of BNI Knox podcast. I am your host, Curtis Johnston, along with Andy Brassfield, and we've got our buddy Robert Smith on from Mike Fuller Real Estate. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Doing awesome. Thanks for asking.
Wonderful. Well, we're on a Zoom meeting today. We're all working from home, so we've decided to continue the podcast. For those watching, you'll see the three of our heads. We're doing the Brady Bunch thing together. We can kind of look up and look over and see our friends, which I think is pretty awesome. But if you're listening, just fast forward to the end where we tell you how to send us money. Today, we're going to be talking about a great topic.
That's a P.O. box.
That's exactly right. P.O. box. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that we've all heard, a phrase that we know, and I'll throw it out there for discussion, and then Andy, you can give us your thoughts on it. We're going to be talking about selling through your chapter, not to your chapter. And can you tell us a little bit about what that means, Andy Brassfield?
Yeah, a lot of times I invite people to BNI chapter. They'll visit, but in some cases, even before their visit, they'll start saying, well, who's in the chapter? I want to know who the chapter members are. And immediately I get the sense that they already have missed the point, right?
Okay.
Because it's not just about who's in the chapter. Now, I don't want to be misunderstood here. Who's in your chapter is very important, right? But just because you're a realtor or in communications, that doesn't mean that you don't know other people in other professions.
That's true.
The truth is, I don't know who you know. And that's the point. The point is, I need to get to know your people, and you need to get to know my people, right?
Got it.
So when people are looking at a chapter, they start thinking about which chapter do I want to participate in. If they're looking at the members of the chapter as potential clients or prospects, then they've missed the point.
I understand. Robert, do you think the same thing? Do you think differently?
Oh, absolutely. I'm there for who you know, not who is in that room, because if I'm in a room of 20 people, I can only sell 20 products. But if everybody in there knows 250 people, the products that I could sell is limitless when I'm selling through them instead of to them.
That makes sense. So instead of broadcasting your product or your service, because you're a commercial real estate agent,
yes, sir.
Instead of telling them this is what you can have, or identifying someone who has a business and say, I'd love to help you upsize, downsize, whatever, you're actually phrasing your ask during the meeting around their contacts, not them.
Exactly.
Okay. And Andy, I assume you do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. How many times have you been sitting in a BNI meeting and you hear a member talking about their products and services as if the members in the room are the prospects?
I have heard that. Yeah. And sometimes we even hear them offer a special offer. There's nothing wrong with offering a special offer, but that begins to target your members as prospects for your business. And that's not the business partner mindset. The business partner mindset is, let's come alongside each other and let's bring solutions to the people that we know. So this concept of the average person knows 250 people. When I say knows, I mean more than just we connected on social media 2 years ago and we're still connected. And I mean, face it, I have connections on social media that Facebook will pop up and say it's so-and-so's birthday. And I'm like, who the heck is that? I use birthdays as a deleter. So if somebody's birthday appears and I don't know who they are, I'm like, deleted. I don't know you.
Delete. Yeah, we connected, but don't know why.
Happy birthday, by the way, Robert. Kidding. I have no idea when that man's birthday is. We're still friends, though.
In like a week or so.
There you go. There you go.
So we have those people that are figuratively standing behind our members. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that we really need to be reaching. So, we've got to educate our members of how to bring up the subject, or how are we going to make the connection here? And this was something that for me early on in my BNI career was kind of awkward. I always felt like that it was my job to sell for my fellow members to my connections. Yeah. And I don't know, something about that, it just felt kind of slimy, and I didn't like it at all. It took me a while to kind of get my brain around the idea that what we're really doing is helping people solve their problems. Okay, now I'm talking to somebody who has a problem.
Yes.
And instead of selling them on behalf of my business partner, I can offer them a solution. All right.
Yes.
Whatever the problem is, hey, have you thought about this? Have you talked to this person or that person? And then, I'd be happy to make an introduction. The reason I hesitated just then, I've got a helper. She was playing with my microphone.
Oh,
so
gosh.
I'm working from home, and this is one of our cats.
It's a beautiful gray cat you have there. What's her name?
Misty. And she literally put her paw up on the microphone. I thought she was going to knock it over.
My turn, Dad. So as your thought process takes place, Andy, as you're unpacking the idea, I love how you're saying picture 250 people standing behind the members in your room. So when you walk into the room, you're looking at, it's the goose and the golden egg idea. You can have the one transaction with the one person, or you can build goodwill and trust with that particular member and then have access to everybody else. I do think that people like helping other people. Everybody likes to buy and nobody likes to be sold. So I would not go in there with that. Let me ask you this, Robert. Here's how I view it. I go in there with the mindset of how do I educate my friends on what I do so they can help me, not what can I sell today.
Right. Does that make sense? Exactly. Yeah, it absolutely does. And being that service provider, and I'm helping their customers and I'm helping their clients. So in turn, hopefully that can help them as well, foster that relationship and build that deeper relationship with their customers and clients. And of course, we talk about visibility, credibility, and profitability, but that's exactly it. If I'm a service provider and I'm educating and helping them out, then hopefully that's going to help them as well.
I like it. Let me put you guys on the spot. Rack your brains. Is there not a time you can think of where you were standing in the middle of a referral, where you're having a conversation with somebody, and they said, "Man, I got to do something with these beds. I got to clean up this landscape somehow," and you immediately thought of somebody in that field? Can you guys think of a time like that?
All the time.
Yesterday.
Oh, great. Tell us a story.
Okay. Yesterday, I got a call from one of my friends that there was a swarm of bees in a tree, and it wasn't his tree. It was somebody he knows. In fact, it was one of his clients. So let me kind of spell it out here real quick. Jason Fields is a residential realtor, and I've known him through BNI, and we're friends now. And he knows I'm a beekeeper as a hobbyist, and that I collect bee swarms. It's a form of bee rescue. Really, when I rescue a swarm of bees, I'm not rescuing the bees, I'm rescuing the people. The people who are afraid that the bees are going to get them.
Yeah.
So, and this also helps to prevent people from spraying bees and killing them, which we don't want to do that. So, so Jason gave me the guy's information and the address, and I drive out there. And I meet this guy, and I collect the bees, but I'm talking to him about, well, how do you know Jason? Right. And tell me about what you do. Well, as it turns out, he's a property investor, and he's buying properties and fixing them up and reselling them. And Jason is his realtor. Right. Okay. So I called Jason later to thank him for the referral because I successfully captured the bees. I was on my way home. I had the bees in the truck.
Nice.
And I said, by the way, Jason, why don't you invite this guy to BNI? I said, maybe he could use some of the services of some of your fellow chapter members.
Yeah.
He says, Andy, I've already introduced him to the electrician, the plumber, the home inspector, the mortgage lender, the insurance agent. He says, I think I've got it covered.
Hilarious. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I wasn't looking to sell anything to the man, right?
Right.
I was looking for how to leverage the connection with Jason to get him introduced to more service providers. All of them are our BNI business partners.
I like it. That's a great approach. Robert, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I love that. And that's, and we've talked about this before. The two times that I find the best opportunity to bring up my business partner is in a pain or a brag. When somebody's having a pain and an issue, I've got a guy. And when somebody's having a brag and they're saying, hey, look at this, this is so awesome, I've probably got a guy that can help you gain more momentum in that brag as well.
Very cool. Very cool. So going back to what Andy was saying earlier, where they're looking at chapters, possible visitors or members are looking at chapters and saying, well, they're very business heavy or they're very residential heavy. Robert, what's your response? I know you're a great visitor host for your chapter. What's your response when you're talking to a visitor and talking about membership and they're like, gosh, I don't know, it's just a lot of residential in here and I do a lot of B2B. What's your response?
Well, one of the first things that comes to my mind is attrition. Just because we have the same people in this room for 2 weeks that you visited us or 1 week that you visited us, that's not going to be the same people who's in this room in 3 months or 6 months or a year. Mm-hmm. And when I'm looking at forming my power team, me as a member and as a visitor host, I want to build my people in that chapter who I already know, like, and trust. And so if I want my culture and my chapter to change, I'm going to start inviting people who's going to grow my power team in my sphere because I'm already giving them business. Why not also get a referral for it and also thank you for closed business?
Nice. Very nice. Joining a BNI chapter and having membership to where you're there every week, I think about the visitors that come, the visitors that show up, because our members are inviting the people that they run into. So you have a constant stream of new people. So not only are you meeting with your typical 20, 25, 40, 50, not only are you meeting with your chapter all the time, but some chapters have got 2 or 3 or 4 visitors a week. So these are new connections that you can meet that you would not have normally met, even if they don't join. Every single week you have the opportunity, and you don't know who it's going to be. Right, Andy? And that's true, right?
Absolutely. So there's another angle on this, and I want to take it to that next step here. And let's go down the road of a one-to-one meeting. Have you ever gone to a one-to-one with a fellow BNI member, whether from your chapter or one of our other chapters, and you get there and find out they're actually there to pitch you their product or service?
I have.
And I have to tell you, that's so disappointing to be on the receiving side of that type of a one-to-one. So this is where we talk about this concept of selling through your chapter, not to your chapter. So let's talk in the context of a one-to-one meeting. The purpose of a one-to-one meeting is not to sell your product or service to the other member. What Correct. It really should be about is about business productivity and prospecting. Mm-hmm. So when we come together in a one-to-one, find out how you can help your business partner prospect. Chances are you know someone. Chances are there's someone standing behind you figuratively that you can bring out and introduce to your fellow BNI member as a mutually beneficial contact, a connection. Now you're able to call up the other person and say, hey, I was having a discussion with Robert Smith and you came to mind, and I really think it'd be great for the two of you to meet. And then arrange for a meeting, whether it's, can I have Robert call you? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's, let's schedule a Zoom meeting and I'll introduce y'all face-to-face online.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And what I say is I don't care how you do it. I want to know who you want to know. And that's the great thing about the gains profile. I know me and Curtis, we've sat down several times. The first one sort of got off track a little bit, but that's because we're so close to each other. Commonality is a great thing. And now we have a deeper relationship because we know those commonalities that we have. But whenever we exchange those gains profiles, I'm able to go through his list. And before we even sit down together, I've already got people in my mind of who I can introduce him to. And so whenever we sit down, that's an effective one-to-one. That's a quality one-to-one. That's a whole other podcast. I was able to ask that meeting, is this a good referral? How can I introduce you? And that was perfect. We weren't selling each other our services or our products because we already had that paperwork in front of us. Is this a good connection? Who can I introduce you to? What do I say to them whenever I do talk to them? How do you want to be introduced to them? And that's always a key thing, is how do you want to be introduced? Some people prefer email over phone call. Some people want that in person.
Yeah, very true. In fact, the one-to-one forms that we use where it talks about contact spheres and less customers use, there's no space in there that says, now pitch your service to the other member.
Exactly.
It's not part of what we're supposed to do. You follow the format. Yeah. And as Rob and I are military guys, I've talked about it often, just give me the steps. We'll do the steps. There's no step in there that says, now sell to the person you're having coffee with. So that's just something I've noticed. But to Robert's point, after I sent him my one sheet and said, here it is filled out, customers that I've worked with and people that I want. When we set up our next one-to-one, Robert had us do it at Smoothie King. Robert, where'd you go?
Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Yeah, because in my one-to-one form, I had said, these are the people I'm looking for. Robert says, I know Tropical Smoothie. So we met at that establishment. He introduces me to the owner, which is fantastic. If I had shown up at Panera Bread and tried to sell to Robert, he'd be like, pump the brakes, back it up, we're not doing this. But again, with the idea of selling through, not to, I feel like it worked out for everybody.
So I want to ask you one more question before we bring this to a close. So what happens when a fellow member actually does need to purchase your product or service?
You double the price. I'm sorry. Is this still on? Are we still recording?
Knock, knock.
If you give me 2 referrals, then I'll give you my services.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
I would say so. Here's where I'm going with it. Okay, is it's natural for the more we get to know one another, the more comfortable I am buying from you when I determine that I need to buy from you.
Right.
Correct.
I'll let you know. You don't have to come to me and try to sell me. Okay. It's a natural thing. It's also a great way for me to try you out and to become even more comfortable with what you do and how your solution answers the problems that my connections might have.
Mm-hmm.
And it just brings us, so in BNI terms, we talk about tier 1 referrals. A tier 1 referral is inside the chapter, me buying from you.
Right.
It's natural. It's going to happen. But as we're making our presentation, as we're educating our chapter, we do it with the idea that our fellow members are going to refer us out. That's a tier 2 referral.
Correct.
So the tier 2 referral is really where we put most of our focus. But the tier 1 is a natural outcome from the activities that we participate in every week. Now, since I've mentioned tiers 1 and 2, let me mention tier 3 and beyond. A tier 3 referral is a referral from a referral. That is when BNI really begins to pay off. When your referrals begin referring you out, then you're in great shape.
I would agree with that. Robert, you agree, my friend?
Absolutely. I've not gotten to that chance yet, but I know that Andy, I think, are you at 5, tier 5 that you've been able to track?
I've
that's
had
awesome.
5,
yeah. And it does happen. I hear it all the time. Yeah, that's great.
Very cool. Andy, I think we're out of time. I know we're all trying to keep these to a certain time frame, so I'd like to wrap us up unless any of you guys had any closing thoughts.
Well, let's just close with sell through your chapter, not to your chapter.
I love it. This has been the BNI Knox podcast with Curtis Johnston and Andy Brassfield. We've had Robert Smith with us today. I hope you had a good time. Hope you learned something. I certainly did. And we'll see you next time.